Any action taken to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part of shall if the circumstances of the case admit to positive made in ample time with due regards to the observance of good seamanship. It means it would be possible for stand-on vessel to alter course of any time and therefore confuse already established crossing situation, and it telling us that taking positive action is ample to we can prevent confusion and reduce the risk of collision. On the second page is any alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall if the circumstances of the course admit be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar at succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be avoided. A succession of small alteration of course or the speed is often cited as one of the causes of a collision. Third page, if there is significant serum, alternation of course alone may be most effective action to avoid a close quarters situation provided that is made in good time in substantial and does not result in another close quarters situation. It is also much easier for another vessel to observe this alteration, particularly when vessels in sight of one another. And the fourth page is action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. The effectiveness of the action shall be carefully checked until the other vessels in finally pass and clear. It means every time you make an alteration of course speed to avoid the collision, you should be confident that the result will be comfortable. The fifth page is if necessary to avoid collision of allow more time to assess the situation. A vessel shall slacken her speed or take all of way off by stopping or receiving her nearest a population. It means slower relative speed means greater time the CPA and alternatively more time to assess the situation. And the next page is a vessel which by any of the rules is required to the impede the passage or safe passage of another vessels shall when required by the circumstances of the case take early action to allow room for the safe passage of the other vessel. Says if your vessels is required not to impede, take action early to say the vessels has enough room for a safe passage. And the next paragraph is a vessel not to impede to passage of said passage to another vessel is not relieved of the obligation if approaching the other vessels so as involve risk of collision, and shall when taking action have full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of this shall not cross a narrow channel or fireway if it impedes to safe passage only of a vessel that can safely navigate only with it. The next page is a vessel the passage of the which is not be remains fully obligated to comply with the rules of this part when the two pieces are approaching one another as to involve risk of collision. It means look at the perspective of the pieces. Those passage is not to be impeded to say as room as a risk of collision exists. You act as you otherwise would law the rules.